Community Living Hub. Today we're having our first podcast of the year. Welcome back. Welcome to Living Hub, right? Today we're having a special guest from the American Red Cross. Jose, how are you, Jose?
Doing fine, thank you. ¿Cómo están?
Can't
Mucho gusto.
complain. We're here. We're so happy that you came with us and share a little words. Give us an update. How's everything around the social work world, right?
It's pretty busy.
Pretty busy.
Pretty busy.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself? Who
Well-
is Jose? How did you ended up in the American Red Cross?
Well, yo comencé a los 32 años de edad. Tuve un fuego en mi casa.
A fire.
Yeah, fire, Y de ahí pasó Tropical Storm Allison en 2001 y en la iglesia que estaba yendo, llegó la Cruz Roja, and that's where I started volunteering. The Red Cross had sent people from Puerto Rico and Mexico and other Spanish-speaking countries, but they couldn't land at the airports because Houston was completely flooded.
Oh wow.
And I was volunteering for my church,
Yeah.
and I was Spanish speaking, and I started going from one table to the other, and this was even before I signed up with the Red Cross. I was just helping out, and then somebody said, one day I went to the church and I smelled some food, and I went to the back, and turns out the food was for the volunteers from Houston.
No way. You were like, call me in.
Yeah, exactly. And this lady goes, she goes, would you like some food? And then she goes, sign this paper. And I was paying attention with my stomach. I wasn't paying attention to what I was signing.
You weren't thinking. Huh?
I wasn't thinking.
No way. So the paper was to become a volunteer.
Yeah, and I didn't know. So I signed the paper, and the lady goes, welcome to the Red Cross. And I'm like, huh? What?
What?
I'm like, okay, well.
Well, say less. Give me the plate.
I kept on eating.
Do you remember the plate? What was the food?
It was chili.
Chili.
It was chili.
Of course, you won't forget about it,
It
huh?
was chili. And so I've been a volunteer since 2001. I was 32 years old. I'm 54 now.
I was 1 year old that time.
Well, no, I'm 50. I'm 56.
You're
Excuse me.
56.
I'm 56. Me estoy cortando la verdad. So I'm 56 now, and I'm a casework supervisor. So my duties is to I work in recovery. So when somebody has a fire,
Yeah.
we send out what we call DAT team members, or disaster action team members. And they go out, they do the inspection, they help the client, they give the client money for their immediate emergency needs. And then a few days later, my team, the recovery team, calls the clients, and we give them different resources to help out, and with other needs. Or we call organizations. Like I may call your organization and say, hey, look, I have a client who needs a wheelchair. He got lost in the fire. Can you help me out? Or I call the City of Houston Mayor's Office with disabilities, and we connect with different organizations, Salvation Army, Memorial Assistance Ministries. Our duties are to help those that need a little bit more help.
Of course.
So that's what I do.
Can you tell us a crazy story? What's the craziest thing you have ever seen in your, the 30 plus years you've been as a volunteer?
Well, the craziest thing that I did was...
Or like the craziest disaster, the craziest emergency you have seen?
Well, I was in New York.
Yeah?
For 9/11.
9/11.
Yeah, and there was a client who worked at one of the towers.
No.
And the mother was looking for the client.
Yeah.
And they thought that he perished in the disaster. They thought that he had died. Turns out that he was in the building, but he went to the airport that day before the planes crashed. and he
He
took
made
off.
it.
He made it to another city, but because all the communications were tied up and everything was cut off,
Yeah.
she didn't find him till about 3 or 4 weeks later.
Weeks.
Yeah,
Weeks. You're
Yeah.
saying weeks, like almost a month.
yeah, almost a month. Because what happened was the only flights that were flying were the emergency flights.
They were just focusing on the emergency
Yeah.
flights.
So
Oh,
the
wow.
people that, people like me, they came from Houston or other
all
places.
around.
Yeah. So
Wow.
and then so I managed to find him, and I'm the one that called his mother and said, "Your son is still alive." So.
Where did you find him? Like in a recovery center?
No, he was in a hotel, and
Okay.
he managed to contact a Red Cross chapter in another city.
Oh, so yeah, that's how you
And then
connected.
we connected.
Mm.
They relayed the information back to us.
Did he share anything like how everything went down? Any, you know?
Well, the one thing was that his boss had sent him his boss had sent him out early
Oh, that's
that
a
morning,
plus.
and everybody in his office died.
Oh, wow.
He was the only survivor, and that's gotta be
Crazy.
crazy. Other things that I can tell you are a little sensitive. I don't know if I could say it on here, but I could tell you that I talked to a police officer,
Yeah.
a New York police officer, and they were telling us how. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional.
Don't you worry. Take your time.
They tell us he told us how when the bodies were falling, people were jumping off. They found body parts miles and miles away, maybe like 10, 12 blocks away. We had one lady that was in the kitchen, and all of a sudden an arm flew through her kitchen window.
Wow.
Yeah, so
We cannot imagine how that went.
you see it in the newspaper. You saw it in the newspaper, and it was like you see the picture, but when you're standing there in person,
Yeah.
the pieces of concrete were taller than this building.
Of course, I mean, obviously. It
Yeah.
was,
And then you get to meet other Red Cross members, especially like the ones from Mexico. They went to New York. They drove from Mexico.
all the way from Mexico.
They drove all the way from Mexico to New York. Because they weren't allowing flights from other countries to go into the United States.
Wow.
So the Mexican Red Cross sent a delegation, and we had Hawaii, we had Germany, Japan,
Wow.
different delegations.
A lot of countries came
A lot
together.
of countries came together.
Wow, that's
And it's sad that it takes a disaster to
realize that how
Yeah.
united we can be, how united we can work together and make a change together. That is crazy now that we're living it every single day, right? Because a lot of things are happening right now, and just like your work is like, it doesn't matter whoever it is, whoever needs help, you're there for them, and you're there to give them the resources. Yeah.
We're a neutral organization.
Yes.
We don't get involved in government issues. The only time we get involved with government is with FEMA, when FEMA is helping in a disaster.
Yeah.
We partner with them. Other than that, we the immigration or other law enforcement cannot enter without a warrant, or they can't enter without
The paperwork.
permission from
Yeah.
the Red Cross, because people, like right now with everything that's happening, is one of the questions that was brought up: do we allow them to come in? And we don't. It's because the Red Cross is a non-profit, and the Red Cross is a neutral organization. We protect those that are in those shelters.
Yeah.
That's and nobody has. You don't have to worry about somebody showing up, especially after you've been in a disaster. You don't want to have to worry. Am I going to stay here, or is somebody going to show up and take me away?
Where am I going to be next day?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's really good to know, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, right? And we just want to give the right information to our communities, because it's important. We cannot have the chismes, we cannot have the things going around our city, and nothing is going on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The fairness is being shared through mouth to mouth, every single day, and there is no point for that. Why are we doing that? You know what I mean? We need to stop that. We need to share the right information to our community so we can be prepared for whatever it is that is coming to the world.
Excuse me.
No, you're completely fine. Can I ask you something else? What's your motivation of your job? Or, you wake up every morning and you're like, let's go right now, let's make a change.
Well, primero, I gotta have a cup of coffee. That's my motivation.
Okay, how many cups do you take?
I just drink one.
Just one? Okay. I was about to say, if you're drinking over
I
three, we're having a problem.
I don't want to drink all day long, and then it's one of those things. My motivation is the fact that I always tell people, people ask me, well, I didn't know that you could be a volunteer. You have a disability. I know you were crippled and this and that. And I always tell them, well, imagine that. If I can do it, imagine what you can do. And you have 2 good legs and 2 good arms.
The power. The power is not all over here.
Yeah.
It's over here.
It's one of those things where you if you show people that no matter what, I don't say I have a disability, I say I have an ability.
There you go.
I have an ability to help others.
Yes, sir.
I take out the diss.
Bye-bye to the diss.
I diss it away. So, people look at me and they're like, wow, I didn't know you were crippled. When I go do a presentation, they're like, you're crippled.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah. They look at me like,
oh, is that you, Jose?
Is that Jose? Is that the guy that's going to do the presentation? And I'm like, yeah, it's...
You have a problem?
No, I'm like, tamales for everybody. No, but, it's just one of those things where it's I like to see when people react and they see me in the chair and they're like, wow. And then after I do my presentation, they'll come over, oh, thank you for what you do, and then it motivates me to do something.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, would you like to sign up? And then they run the other way. So,
I have a point for that. So, we had a donation, right?
Mm-hmm.
We went to this event, and a lot of people were coming to us. Like, we finished the event, we say thank you to them for the donation, obviously. And as they are getting out of the room, they're like, oh, thank you for the service. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And Mike and I are like, huh?
Yeah.
What service?
Yeah.
The service of life?
Yeah.
I mean, say less, but not because I'm in a wheelchair. It doesn't mean I service our country, right? It means...
Well, I mean, for me, when they tell me thank you for your service, for me, I'm humble. I don't.
No, I am. No, we are humble too. It's just surprising, when it happens.
It is surprising.
It's just like, oh, okay.
It is surprising.
I guess.
Yeah, it is surprising because a lot of people, all they see is a person in a wheelchair. They don't see the ability of.
That's what I'm saying.
The ability of us being able to help others.
Yes. And I love when somebody comes to us and he's like, oh, would you guys mind sharing your story? I'm like, what story? Which story? I have many stories. Like, oh yeah, you guys being in a wheelchair, and I'm like, okay, sure. So I started sharing my story, and he's like, oh, thank you guys, thank you for having that motivation, for that drive, and to be honest, I prefer those kind of people to come to us and ask us. I mean, what are we going? We don't have nothing to lose,
Yeah.
The worst that we can say is no, but we're positive people. We're going to say yes. Here's our story,
Exactly.
And we make them smile, and they're all happy because we bring them happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any crazy story, something like that you want to share just to close our little podcast?
The craziest thing is one time when I first started, we didn't have all the internet stuff that we have now. I mean, we had internet, but
it's not what it is now.
It's not what it is now. So I would spend the night at the Red Cross office.
The night.
Entering cases. And because we get every 2 minutes there's a fire in Houston.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep. So
Perfect.
but I'm grateful that we do what we do.
Yeah, it's such a blessing to be here and help others.
Yeah, and if you want to be a volunteer, www.redcross.org.
There you go. You know to who?
Yeah.
Jose.
Well, yeah. To me and whoever answers the phone.
Whoever answers
answers the phone, because there's a lot of people.
So let's close the podcast. Anything you would like to tell our people watching us?
Anything that I would like to tell them?
Motivation.
Don't give up. Don't give up on yourselves. A lot of people, may end up in a wheelchair because of an accident or other circumstances.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
We keep going.
We keep going. We keep rolling. We keep doing what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Y como dice mi papá, viva la raza.
Viva la raza.
Viva la raza.
Thank you so much for watching us. I hope that you like this little podcast. Remember, it's the first one of the year, so thank you, Jose, for coming with us, being our first guest of the year. We're so happy. Please give us a like. Let us know what would you like to see next. And remember to be happy.
Exactly.